The Writer's Dossier podcast is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network.
No writers were harmed in the production of this podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Writer's Dossier. We've got a special episode today for you, and I'm holding up, for those of you watching on YouTube, that is a hint, by the way, YouTube/@JeffCircle, the CD case for Deadly Vision and the book right here, because we have the author on, T.D. Severin. Thanks for joining us, Todd. How you doing, man?
Oh man, thanks so much for having me on the show. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, it's good to
A lot
see
of
you
words.
too. I think that I know. Well, it's only a lot of words if it's boring. And, if you're like, oh my God. But no, what you sent me, first, thank you. Two, Deadly Vision. Holy crap balls. Right on the back. Robert Dugoni.
Yeah.
I want to start the episode right off with that. Like, how did that happen? But, we get right at it here at the dossier. I want people to get to know you, get to know this guy. Go to his dossier. You'll find it at thewritersdossier.com. Go to his website. What's your website, man?
tdseverin.com.
There you go, tdseverin.com. Way to keep it simple.
Easy.
So
Easy.
Man, you have done so many crazy things, and it's going to be hard for me to keep things on the rails because, one, that's not really what we do here at the dossier. But before you were an internationally renowned professor, surgeon, physician, and award-winning nonfiction author, and before Newsweek magazine named you one of the nation's best ophthalmologists, I had to look that up, you were a radio disc jockey. So now you write thriller novels. So the dossier wants to know, where did you go wrong in your career choice?
Yeah, that's a great question. Never bored, just always looking for the next thing to do, just taking myself in new directions. Basically, I've always been of the mindset that it's better to fail than to never have tried. So there's really nothing I won't do. I mean, I've both physically or mentally, I have no barriers to what I'll try. And if I fail, it just brushes right off. It's like when you're first, all this, when you write your book and you're querying to get agents or what have you, anytime I ever got a rejection, it never was put into a rejection folder. It was always put into a try again folder because I was going to write them again. I'm going to fix that query and I'm sending it back out. I'm just going to keep on going until somebody pays attention.
If you have that kind of turtle shell, you are in the right business.
Okay.
I spoke with Henry Wise recently, who won the Edgar Award this year for Best Debut Novel for his Holy City. And we talked about how long did it take for you to get your agent? And he said, if I hadn't have written that 85th query letter, I wouldn't have gotten John Talbot. So keep doing what you're doing. You have done a ton of things, and something we haven't really mentioned, you also own a record label. I mean, I'm holding up a CD case right here for Deadly Vision, the soundtrack. Those of you watching on YouTube, hop on YouTube, take a look at this. This thing is beautiful, and your book cover is awesome. I mean, so many things. Haven't you done that you wanted to do? You told me earlier that this is a 30-year journey to get this book done, but what else? I'm just curious, what else is out there for you?
That's a good question.
Ding.
I've done a lot of things. I've been to Mount Everest. I've scuba dived the Barrier Reef. I've whitewater rafted down through the rainforests. I've never been on a safari. Not that that's the most adventurous thing in the world, but I have not yet been on a safari. I think the big thing for me right now is just to keep working on my writing. We have one book out. That's hardly a road path of a career as a writer. And at this point, I'm ready to start transitioning away from all those things you've talked about and move to the next phase, which will be writing full-time and running the record label full-time. That'll be a lot of joy. And then being a grandpa.
See, we have some things in common because I have scuba dived the Galapagos and I've been to the rainforest on a dugout canoe 90 miles down the Napo River. And so you and I, we need to get together. There's nothing but trouble if we go on vacation. All right. So in your novel, I'm holding it up, folks. Deadly Vision, this one right here. You blend virtual reality, very cool, and medicine into a thriller that even dossier standout Robert Dugoni says blew him away from its opening page. Wow. How did you shift gears from being a successful surgeon to receiving such high praise from Robert Dugoni? I mean, come on, man.
All of these things, the way I look at my life is everything dovetails together, right? It's all just me doing what I do. So I was always a writer. I think the first time I won a writing contest was in 6th grade for a story about a haunted house, which I might still have someplace.
Do you still have a copy of that?
College. I might have it someplace. It's probably not as good as I remember at the end.
Never is.
I wrote through college. I wrote through medical school. I was publishing short stories throughout all that. And then the idea of this came to me during my residency, actually, and which, by the way, was 30 years ago. And I was becoming fascinated with the research that was happening in virtual reality and artificial intelligence. And at the same time, medicine was starting to delve into this world of medical, virtual. It wasn't surgical yet, but it was just for teaching purposes. And as this was evolving, I just started playing with these concepts of, well, what's the next step going to be? And the next step is, instead of training people or just looking at medicine in virtual reality, for example, a plastic surgeon can use virtual reality programming to manipulate computer images to see what something will look like after they've done a surgery, like a nose job. You can play with it and see how the results are going to look. So that's one way of using computer-assisted surgery. But I was thinking, well, what's the next step? What's the ultimate step of computer-assisted surgery? And it's going to have to be some sort of telepresent surgery, where a surgeon can be operating on a patient virtually from a different part of the world. Now, we do have robotic surgery, but that surgeon is actually sitting in the room, and the surgeon actually has to be there to insert the instruments into the patient. So I just wanted to conceptually to see where this could go to the next step. And from there, I wanted to see what nasty repercussions we can come up with, because a thriller, you create a problem, which is always going to create more problems. And that's, basis of the thriller. So I started playing around with this concept in virtual reality of the fact that you're now existing in two different places at the same time. You are you, Jeff, in the operating room, but you are you, Jeff, virtually inside of a patient to do surgery. And I wanted to play with this concept of the duality of existence and how that can affect somebody mentally, which we explore through Deadly Vision.
Yeah, both the patient and the physician. It's like, what am I doing here? So did you do any kind of research into some of the things that, some like the neural implant technology that's going on right now with, especially vision is a big thing that they're trying to reconnect, and movement and spinal cord injuries. Is some of that woven into this to where, okay, you're in the San Francisco Bay Area now, I'm in Northwest Ohio. In this book, could you go to your computer and tinker around and like make me turn my head?
There you go. See, it worked just like that. Yeah, everything you're saying is totally correct, and it's totally true. That didn't factor into this particular book, like with the implant, particularly the visual implant. But let's just say I have concepts for the next five records. I'm thinking albums because the record label. The next five books, and that sort of technology will come in. Michael Crichton talked about that in Terminal Man way, way, way back. I mean, that was one of his early books. Wasn't necessarily a very successful book as far as Crichton goes, but Terminal Man looked at the implant and how that can have an effect on the patient. So I certainly did not want to replicate anything he did. So the concept with this book is that through virtual reality and with high-resolution MRI and ultrasound scans, you can scan the patient's heart to the level that you can see the coronary arteries and you can see the plaque within the coronary arteries. So what if we had a micro-robotic servo mechanism that can follow a doctor as he's walking through the virtual artery, while in the real patient, the servo mechanism is taking a laser to the exact same point, and you could do a virtual angioplasty. So this book is based upon that concept of tying virtual reality with micro-robotics.
See, I just need to live a few more years, and you can just like inject a bunch of nanobots in me to, fix this and fix that.
You're good.
You're good. How did you get hooked up with dossier standout Robert Dugoni? He's one of our favorites. He is a super guy. He and I were texting pictures of our horses, or his wife's horses and my wife's horses together. How did that relationship evolve to where you got this enormous, amazing quote?
He's a gem of a human. He's a gem of a writer. As I was learning to write, like I said, I tend to go head in on things. So when I got the idea to write the story, originally the concept I was going to do was going to be a comic book series. And I started pitching it to comic book companies. And one of them came to me and said, this is a great idea, but it would actually make a better novel than a comic book. So I said, cool, I'll write a novel. For someone who's never written anything like that in his life.
Yeah,
I sat down.
I'm just going to do that. Yeah, no problem.
I'll just write the novel. So I wrote the novel. I wrote the first draft. And after I finished writing, I realized I needed to learn how to write a novel. Right. So I started taking courses and started going to conferences. And some of the first conferences I went to were led by Tess Gerritsen and Michael, help me, spacing on his name right now, Extreme Measures, medical thriller writer, and wonderful courses. Michael Palmer, so MQ. And so I took a couple courses with them, and then I followed that up with a course with Robert Dugoni. And that was in Chicago. It was a big week intensive. We had a lot of one-on-one time, and it was a really revelatory course because I was at that point in my writing now where I was working on the revision. And afterwards, I came up with this concept called the 10-point revision strategy to guide me to revise this book. And it was all based upon my teachings from Robert Dugoni. So when the book was finally finished, I reached out to him, and he just said, happy to do it for you, and sent him a copy of the book, and I'm blessed. Very happy.
That's fantastic. Was Stephen James at that conference with you guys, or that writing thing
this was
you did with him?
This was just Robert Dugoni. This was a while ago, man. I'm old.
Yes, we've established that. I was surprised to hear you're even older than I am. All right. Well, congratulations on that. For more reasons we need tech from deadly vision in our medical care. Okay. Hey, so let's hop on over to another thing. You mentioned it earlier, and I have too. You're crazy about music. And in fact, in addition to everything else you've overachieved in, you own your own record label, like you said. You even sent me a CD with the book. How much does music play into everything you do, and how much speed metal have you recorded?
There's pretty good chance there's gonna be some speed metal playing in this room at any given point.
Dude, I put this in the CD player and I was like, whoa.
And that's mellow stuff, man. That's mellow. But the record label is underground, heavy rock. There's a genre for our record label. It's called heavy psych, stoner doom. And doom is all the music which spawned from Black Sabbath. So you can think of Sabbath as like the godfather of most of my bands. So when the book was coming out, and I got this record label, I was thinking, well, what can I do to tie these two things together and introduce the book to the audience of the record label, because the label's, pretty successful. And I just had this idea to do a reading soundtrack. Not that you're going to actually play it while you read, but from the beginning notes, which is a band called Baracho, and they do a heartbeat, dun-dun, dun-dun, which is like bringing you into the concept of the virtual heart surgery from the beginning, to the very last note, which is a song called Sweet Relief from a Finnish band called Cranium, which is the resolution of our story. That CD actually walks you through the book. You can point to any song. I'll tell you what scene of the book that's representing. So they actually told the book through the music on the CD. The bands are incredible. They did it all. I'm just a schlub who's lucky to be working with them.
Yeah, I know. Your monkey push button on the mixing board, but I can't get over... I want to listen to more music from any band named Burnt Sherpa. So I'm just going to leave that there.
Oh, you're going to love this.
Sherpa.
That song that he wrote, which is almost like a little mini summary of the book, he wrote essentially while he was talking to me on the phone. I mean, literally. It's like I sent him the concept, and he comes back and he sends me this riff. And I go, dude, that's awesome. And he goes, here, let me get the lyrics down. And like within an hour, he sends it to me as a rough. And goes, I'm going to get this mixed and mastered. I'll send it to you tomorrow. Next day, there's the song. So, Burnt Sherpa. There you go.
Well, that's okay. During this episode, I finished a half a bottle of bourbon here. And I'm sure you've probably done a remote eye surgery at the same time. Talking to that circle guy, I can do this in my sleep. All right, man. Hey, you also, because, again, overachiever, folks, get to know T.D. Severin. So, you've written a wildly successful nonfiction book about wellness that it was really interesting to me because it fuses Western and Eastern medicine practices together. Is there something about writing thrillers that you find more fun, or do you prefer dispensing knowledge based in reality instead? Which one do you like?
Given a choice, I'd rather write a thriller.
Okay.
It's I think it was one of your previous episodes, I think it was with Jeffrey James Higgins, where he really nailed it on the head, and that is write what you're passionate about.
Yes, I think
And
he
that,
said write what excites you.
write what excites you.
I'm Jeffrey James Higgins, and this is my writer's dossier.
Some authors say, Jeff, to write what you know. Others hate that saying. You've supervised DEA special agents, and some of your stories reflect that part of your past, but you've written other stories too, even some poetry. So how do you approach the craft of writing, and what are your priorities as you continue to grow as an author?
That's a great question, and some bad poetry, by the way. I think the write what you know. I mean, you can learn it, right? You can research it. Like you can find you want to write stuff that's fairly authentic. It's fiction, right? In the end, but when you do something, when you know something, whatever it is, right? Maybe you're a great tennis player or a long distance runner or whatever the activities you bring something to it where you have experience, the internal sensations, the little stuff, the sensory experience that maybe somebody who's reading about it online doesn't understand. So, that really matters. But also, it's you can write what you know, but you want to write what excites you, and you want to write the story you want to read. I think that's way more important. And so you can learn things, you can talk to experts, given time. Depends on what your publishing schedule looks like, but you can do all that, which is good. But write what you're excited about. That's what I would recommend.
And, that came up in the conversation when you were asking him about write what you know. So, what I know is medicine. I've never been in the Secret Service. I've never been in the Special Forces. I've never been a policeman. I've never served in Afghanistan. I've never been counterterrorism, like some people I know or don't know, but I'm getting to know. But what I have done is surgery. I've been in the trauma room. I've been in the emergency room. I've seen people die. I've been through things that are as gruesome in their own way as other people experience on the battlefield. I'm just not there at that moment. I get it as it comes in to see me. Doing ophthalmology in the inner city, we had gunshot wounds and head wounds and motor vehicle accidents, and it's all knife and gun club stuff. And so I know medicine and I know science, and I'm fascinated by science. So what I wanted to do was take science. Michael Crichton's my biggest inspiration. But you take the science and you get the concept and then you twist it and you theorize what the worst possible outcome would be, and then you create your characters to populate the story. And that to me is heaven. That's fun. I can write all day long. I'm indefatigable. I love it.
So is that...
Yeah, I'm good with writing the nonfiction. That book that you're referring to called Tri-Energetics was a project I did with my father. My father was in the Air Force, and he was the flight surgeon to the original Gemini astronauts. And he was studying their mental and physical fitness. And he also studied meditation techniques under the yoga, who also trained with the Beatles. And I went on and studied for 3 years to be a Taoist priest. So we both had an Eastern bent to our thought process, but we're both very rooted in Western medicine. So combining all that is how Tri-Energetics came along. And it was great to do that with my father. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. He actually just put out another version of the book. He's 91 years old. Still exercises every day. He's still doing amazingly well. He lives the principles that he was teaching in that book. So I love the fact that I did it. Deadly Vision was always my pie in the sky.
Well, pie in the sky has come to here, and people check this out, Deadly Vision. There aren't a lot of books like this out there. Everyone's looking for a different story or a different angle or a different character, something fresh and new. When you start bringing in some of this Crichton stuff, the way he combined technology and it just made things, it's just that creativity. I want people to understand that. And the other thing I want everyone to walk away from this episode with is the idea that it's not an idea. It's something that you make happen, whether it's you want to write a book and 30 years later, you're sending it to people like me who run goofy podcasts, or if you do something like that with your dad, and then you got a record label. There is no in your vocabulary, so everyone should walk away with that and it be encouraged with, holy cow, I can make things happen, and just get out and do it. It might not go exactly according to plan, but that's part of the fun. That is the mixed spice layer on the 7-layer salad. So, dude, you are an encouragement and inspiration, I think, to a lot of people because you just get it done. And I'm impressed and I'm happy for you. And we can't wait to see what happens. What's next in the writing? What do you got going on, man?
Working on my new novel, Different Scientific Principle. It's not
Okay.
a sequel. People keep asking me, are you going to write a sequel? My character arc, the main hero, his story's told. I have nothing else to say about him. But in writing that, I created a bunch of really quirky side characters, and I created this medical center where there was a bunch of terminally nasty politics, which is all real life. I mean, that's what I've been through. I've lived through that nasty politics of medical centers. And so I have this medical center, all these quirky characters, so I can still keep basing stories out of my universe. You know, I got a computer genius. In the next book, I need a computer genius. Well, I got one already. Let's bring Malcolm over and he can be in the next book. So the hero's done. There will not be a sequel, but I'm going to keep exploring this world, but all with different leads, all with different scientific concepts. I have my next 5 novels concepted already.
Oh, love it. And we know that all of that medical politics that you're talking about, we know everything is just like ER. So
Yeah.
just like the West Wing is just like the White House. Just there.
There's a little bit less sex in the linen closet.
I was thinking about that. I mean, we go get some syringes. Well, dude, I appreciate you listening to the Dossier podcast. I hope you'll share this episode after I get it edited and erase all the dumb things I say. I want this to be an encouragement to everyone. So thanks for coming on and sharing your story with everybody. It is truly really cool. People need to check you out. Follow you on social media. Go to your website, tdseverin.com. Go to the writersdossier.com. Look at your dossier. That is in the mail. And anything else you want to say? Like, what's the best way for someone to follow what you're doing?
Best way to follow me is probably Facebook, TD Severin author on Facebook. Also on TikTok and Instagram. You can like me on my...
He's got a TikTok. Oh, look out, people. He's joined the kids.
Man, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what's going on over there. I get like 3 views sometimes. Like 3.
I get it, man. I get it. All right, brother. That's all we've got today. Everyone definitely go to the website, and thanks for bearing with us. I'm crazy about everything you're doing, and I'm so happy for you. So thanks for joining us today on the Writers Dossier podcast. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I didn't stop recording, so we have the beginning.
Okay.
So
and you just hit me up with the question, too. You said
Yes. So I'm going to start that question over. And that's good because I need practice asking questions because sometimes I get jerky with them. And by the way, I didn't mention this earlier. I'm really old. So I do appreciate the larger print.
Just so we're clear, I'm older than you.
Just so you're clear, I don't think you are.
This book is a 30-year journey.
30 years. Oh, well, save that for the episode. Okay, let's start over. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready, man. Let's keep it going this time.
I know. I don't know where I was, so I'm just going to start with the first question. I think I got enough of the other part in, so here we go. This is awesome. Okay, so we're going to start this episode off right off the bat with a good question that I came up with. Dude, before you were an internationally renowned professor, physician... The Dossier Podcast is a production of The Idea Academy.